All right, my friends, welcome back. This is going to be part 7 of my presentation on the microscopic world. And before we begin on this topic that I have in this video, I made a mistake. I made a mistake on a previous video. It was the one on microscopic webs. I was talking about the little webs, the spigots that were discovered on tarantula feet. And if you'll notice on the screen here, on this slide in particular, you see that 1 mm. Now, see those arrows there? They're pointing into those little microscopic webs. My brain went into a block because my mind went to millimeter on that but my brain could not accept that because of those little teeny tiny webs. And so I'm like, on the spur of the moment, I just said, well, that's got to mean micron. They probably meant micron or whatever. And so I had some of my friends out there correct me and say, well, that 1 mm is millimeter. And so I got looking at the slide again, and I noticed that white line underneath that. It's been some time, guys, since I've did this presentation, and that's one good thing about whenever you're doing presentations, when you're making up these slides, and then you present the stuff right after you make up the slides. Everything's real fresh in your mind on all the slides, and there's sometimes a lot of information that I can share on one slide. But I noticed that white line underneath the 1 mm. You see that long white line? They're giving you a scale that evidently right there is 1 millimeter. That's the scale for 1 millimeter, and it's trying to show you that area there compared to the 1 millimeter, how small they are. And so I was like, oh, I missed that. I should have caught that. And so, but it's really wild because micron is different. They've got like I'm just saying it's a U. I'm just saying, just for simplicity purposes, guys, it looks like a U. So that there, they got objects at a micron scale. And so you got that. And so that's what I was thinking. I said, that micron is a different type of symbol, or they abbreviated. And so now, the chart, there's a chart here also that I have in my file, and they say a micrometer with that Now, I get that. Now, these are all abbreviations for different types of scales, measurements. And so, for what it's worth, guys, you can see the symbol there. And there's some of, guys, most of these I have never heard of because I don't have a background in this type of stuff. And so, that's one thing when you get into creationism and you want to speak on it, you're going to get into all types of stuff. It won't be, not unless you just say, hey, I am going to center my attention just on this and this only, and I'm going to be an expert as much as I can be an expert on this area. And so what I did is I just said, hey, I'm going to have 3 major presentations and just do the best I can on all 3 of them. But you still get into all different types of stuff. And you guys know that. For some of you that have seen my videos in the past, you know just how much we can rabbit trail into all different types of stuff. And so, this here is just, like I said, for those of you that are engineers and you get into these type of measurements, you can appreciate this stuff, but they call this a micrometer. And I'm sitting here looking for a micron. And so, but for whatever reason, this picture right here, I can't even remember where exactly I got it at, but they're showing you what a micron is compared to a human hair, what it would be. And so, and of course, the human hair, they're saying it's 100 microns. I'm just going to say, I'm not sure if they're meaning that is in diameter or is it around. I'm assuming it's in diameter. It's in diameter. And so, but at any rate, it's steel. The things that I'm showing you, these things, well, especially when it came to the diatoms and those microscopic hairs on the tarantula, we're talking tiny. I think we can all agree with that. We're talking stuff that is extremely, extremely small. DNA has been, um, it's been referred to as um, uh, like a computer language. That's the reason why you will hear it called the software. It's like software. And so now a computer language, you've got basically ones and zeros. Now, guys, I'm not a computer guy. I barely know anything about the things. I do what I do with mine, and I don't even do a smidget of what this thing can do. I just get on it and do the same stuff I've always done with it. I've got, I don't know, one, two, three. I got four laptops. I got four laptops, and one of them I haven't used in so long it won't even boot itself up, and come on. And so I don't know if something's happened to the power, the hardware inside of it, or the software, or the hard drive. Hard drive is what I was thinking of, and but it won't cut on. It won't cut on. And so my the computer that I'm doing this presentation on, I got back, I'm wanting to say right at the year 2018, I think is when I got this one. And it might have been 2017. And but I do my Bible studies on a computer, I think maybe 15, close to 20 years old. And I don't get on the internet with it. And I got a couple Acers. One of my Acers is the one that won't come back on. And the sucker's in brand new condition. It's just, I guess I just haven't used it in so long. The hard drive went bad on it. And though I got another Acer that I do some of my Bible studies with when I'm on my part-time job, I just take it with me. It's real small. And, the Dell computer that I have that I do this stuff on has the power to do what I want it to do. But of course, it was outdated probably a couple months after I got the thing. And but they're intricacies in it. You got the hardware, which is the computer, and then you got the software, which is what goes into the computer. And you have to have somebody that knows about computers that can design a certain language to go into a computer. It's what they consider the software. An intelligent mind takes information and they create a language. And so DNA is that language. It's a software system to make you. It's what makes you. And so that's probably the best way I can describe it. And so now this is from a news. This is from a news clip. Newspaper article from my hometown, Salisbury, North Carolina. This is from back in 2010. DNA leads to charges in a 1981 rape case. Now, this ain't nothing, because this is when they just started using DNA to do certain things. But DNA is like a molecular fingerprint, and they have solved scores and scores and scores of crimes since this time of 2010 through DNA. These things where people send in their DNA to do like a family, find out where they're from, and they have found out that they have other siblings, or that their parents really aren't their parents, or the father isn't the father of them, and it's created. In some families, it's created turmoil. In other families, it's been like a treasure hunt for them. And I want to say he was called back in it's in California is what I'm wanting to say. The East Area Rapist, they used to call him. I think his last name was Joseph D'Angelo. One of the real cold cases in American history. Where this guy raped and killed a bunch of people, a bunch of women and men. He murdered several men, and they seemingly got away with it until somebody put some DNA that was found at one of the crime scenes into a database, and they got him. They got him because of that. And so DNA is really has been a powerful tool to solve crimes. And finally get a lot of people some closure that they desperately need, and some justice. But Bill Gates said that DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software ever created. You see that? This guy here, if you've been following any of my videos for any length of time, you've seen me bring him up before. J. Craig Ventnor, one of the most famous scientists in the world. He deciphered the human genome, created a synthetic cell which gets its instruction from a synthetic chromosome slash DNA, runs two companies which employs about 500 people, including some of the top scientists in the world, synthetic genomics and the J. Craig Ventnor Institute. Exxon, BP, and pharmaceutical companies have contracts with him. Now, this is from a 60 Minutes program that I got way back in 2011. So I don't know if this information here about the companies and stuff, if it's still running. I don't even know if this guy's still alive. And so, I guess in some ways you could consider this guy a genius. And so, but this is what he said about DNA. He said, DNA is the software of life. That's what he says. It's the software of life. There is no question about it. That's what he says about DNA. Now, James Watson and Francis Crick in 1953, they described the structure of the DNA as a double helix, And so now you got the cell here, and in the cell you got the nucleus. Now inside the nucleus you got the DNA. Now that DNA model that you see, that's my DNA model. And so it took me about 3 months to put that thing together. And so, but that's one of my prized possessions. It really is. And so it actually twirls, it spins. It actually spins around and around and around. I got LED lights on inside the thing. It's about 2 feet high, the actual model itself. And so if I can get a video, guys, of this thing turning, I will show that to you, and or let it come up on the screen. And but those balls right there are styrofoam balls, and they're high density styrofoam balls. The company that produces those don't produce a certain size anymore, and so I cannot get certain sizes of those anymore. And so, but it took 3 and 4 coats on some of those colors there before I actually covered it the way I wanted to. And so it was really wild. I took a Q-tip and put inside of it, and my wife said it looked like a bunch of lollipops. I had them sticking out of styrofoam, and but it was just amazing. It was amazing to put that thing together. And again, I built this thing, and this is a guy that I don't have any type of scientific or biology background. I just did a bunch of homework on it and looked at a bunch of models and charts, and I put it together. And so a lot of people like it. And so it really turned out really well, and it gives you a good visual of the structure of DNA. And I did build a key with it also to point out certain things, but we're going to talk about this. Now, in 1962, they both, along with Maurice Wilkins, received the Nobel Prize for their discovery of the structure of DNA. And we're going to talk about DNA's basic structure, the basic structure. Now, just the colors of these balls here and the colors that you see, that's what they are. So you got phosphate, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen. Now, you got base pairs. You got 4 base pairs: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. And so now adenine will only go to thymine, and cytosine will only go to guanine. And so this right here is the complete model of what it is, and you can see all that together there. And so now the backbone. Now we're talking about the backbone of the DNA. Let's go back to that model again. The backbone is on the outside edge of it, the outside edge. And so the backbone is a phosphate group and a deoxyribose or sugar group. And so now the nucleotide base is, you got adenine and thymine coming together, and and you got that phosphate group right there along with the sugar group. And to view just half of your genetic information, your genome, you would have to view 10 nucleotides every second for 40 hours per week for 40 years. That's the extent of your DNA. Now, the DNA of some organisms has more letters or words than the DNA of other organisms. Where did these additional letters and words come from? Natural selection only works on existing material. It doesn't add anything new. How did the letters accumulate to form words? Imagine covering the word rat, converting the word rat into information, one step at a time, with no intelligence involved. For each step, the new word must be readable and contain useful information. And, by the way, any spelling mistakes along the way might kill the organism. So natural selection is not going to add anything useful to the organism. It's only going to work on that. So again, you would have to take with unguided intelligence to create the word rat, and then by natural selection, it only works on the existing material that's in the animal. It doesn't add anything, but yet you're going to have to get that rat to turn into information. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Then there's a spell checker or a repair mechanism. Evolution requires DNA to accumulate new information over time, but DNA has an intricate spelling system, a spell checking system that's designed to prevent any changes. DNA is literally a genetic language. It has an alphabet, which are the nucleotides, rules of grammar and syntax, and carries messages, the information used to construct, maintain, and repair the cell. A language requires proper spelling. For a genetic language, this is crucial. Typographic errors can be deadly. Evolution requires them. Without spelling mistakes, no evolution can take place. Evolution teaches that you are the accumulation of millions of genetic errors. Even though one or two such errors can kill you. It can kill you. Spelling and copying errors are so harmful that the cell has a spell checking mechanism to prevent them. It's constructed from a complex machines like endonucleus, which holds on to the backbone of the DNA like a banister or of a spiral staircase as it runs up and down the length of it looking for errors. When it finds one, it cuts into the DNA, and then exonucleus takes over. Exonucleus chews out the bad sector that was found in the DNA. Polymerase brings in a new correct nucleotide base. Ligase glues the new piece into place and glues the cut DNA back together. The cell not only finds errors in its DNA, it repairs and eliminates them. Since evolution requires genetic errors to accumulate, the system prevents evolution from occurring. So because DNA is set up like it is, it prevents the supposed theory of evolution from ever happening. And so this is what it looks like. So you got that top one, you got, DNA is damaged or mismatched. Endonucleus detects the mismatch and cuts the backbone. Exonucleus removes the mismatched base. It takes it out on the second one there. Polymerase replaces it with the correct base. Ligase glues the backbone back together, and that's the third one there. DNA and its spell checking repair mechanisms are wonderful examples of design and programming. Design and programming. Now, let's talk about the DNA disk. Now, guys, this is something that I have learned, and I'm going to relate to you in the best way I can what exactly this is. But this shows you more intelligence that can go into DNA. DNA is just, it's amazing. but they're actually wanting to store information on DNA, actually store it on it. We already know that DNA is a robust way to store information because we can extract it from bones of woolly mammoths, which date back tens of thousands of years. Now, this is evolutionary thinking, and make sense of it. It's so incredibly small, dense, and does not need any power for storage. So shipping and keeping it is easy. And so what they've done is they take the computer code, ones and zeros, that type of thing, and they encode it with the DNA, adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. That's the TAC, the TACG that you see there over to the right where it says encode. And then they synthesized by Agilent Technologies, a California-based company, and they sequence it. And then it can be decoded by the computer code that we know today, by the ones and zeros. I know this is going to sound very confusing, but in a nutshell, guys, and you guys can look into this more. If I can find a YouTube video, which there is one on it, I got this information from Information Storage on DNA. It's a YouTube video back in 2012. So that shows you how old this information is. I don't know what they've done on this thing, but what I'll do is I will put a video, if I can find one, I will put a video in the description below, and you guys can click onto it, and that way anything that I'm kind of missing out, they can kind of fill in the puzzle, and it won't be so confusing. But what the point I'm trying to make is that there's an intelligence that is in this code, and that they're actually using that to store information on it. It's absolutely just incredible, guys. But this is what they were able to synthesize or store onto DNA. Is 154 sonnets of Shakespeare, a 26-second excerpt from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, a digital photo of the researcher's laboratory, a scientific paper, and used error-correcting software to do it. And so they hope to be able to store the equivalent of 1 million CDs in a gram of DNA for 10,000 years. And that's, as far as the weight of it, a paperclip weighs 1 gram. So if that'll just let you know about what they're talking about here. In 2011, they had progressed to the level where it was possible to store all the information stored in the world on 4 grams of DNA. That's amazing. If you took everything human beings have ever written and stored it in DNA, that DNA would weigh less than a granola bar. How about that? 100 million hours of high-definition video could be stored in about a cup of DNA. DNA storage would require no power supply to maintain its integrity and only needs to be stored in a cool, dry, and dark place. Hopes are that within a decade, large companies may be able to use this technology. Now, it's been a decade since I've gotten this information here, over a decade, so I would love to wonder exactly where they are now. And so what's really wild, guys, also about our DNA and software and mutations and stuff like that, Dr. John Sanford, a Cornell University professor for more than 25 years, worked in plant genetic engineering, published 70 scientific publications, invented the ballistic gene gun process. He started 2 successful biotech businesses deriving from his research, Ballistics Incorporated and Sanford Scientific Incorporated. He started a small nonprofit organization, Feed My Sheep Foundation. This guy's a creationist. Let me tell you that also. He's a creationist. And so you've heard me bring him up before. This is what he said about our DNA and mutations and stuff. The consensus among human geneticists is that at present, the human race is degenerating genetically due to rapid mutation, accumulation, and relaxed natural selection pressure. These geneticists realized that there is presently a net accumulation of mutations in the population, which is occurring at a much higher rate than was previously thought possible. Geneticists widely agree that essentially all these mutations are either neutral or deleterious. Now, deleterious means they're harmful. If any are beneficial, they are considered so rare to be entirely excluded from consideration. They don't even consider it because it's so rare. So what they're saying is, and what he's saying is, by the time, now we're looking at the biblical time frame. We're looking at the biblical time frame, and you can see how after the flood, there was a certain time that man was still living, and several hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden, there was a drastic drop. Now, this is after the pre-flood world. So who knows what it was like before then? I'm sure the living conditions and the atmosphere was much more profitable for our bodies than we have now. And so, but now we are accumulating mutations. We are now accumulating mutations. If you live like in America, it is averaged about 75 to 78 years, guys. If you live that long, you're considered doing good. Now, I know there are exceptions to the case there, but average lifespan in America, I'm talking in America, is about 75 to 78 years. And there's many people that I know, friends, coworkers and stuff, they died well before that. And so mainly because they just didn't take care of themselves. And so now, if you're talking about the evolution of humans, which supposedly evolved 1.8 to 5.6 million years ago, then we should be extinct. We should be extinct because of all the bad mutations that we should have been accumulating from then till now. We should be really in bad shape or gone, completely gone. I think one of the figures that I read was about 50,000 years. We wouldn't make it 50,000 years on this planet, accumulating the way we're accumulating. And so, but guys, we're going to stop right there. When we come back, we're going to continue on. And I am looking at, I think we're going to get into proteins and nucleotides. And so, proteins and amino acids. Proteins and amino acids, yes. And so when we come back, we're going to get into that. But you guys chew on this information. I love you. I hope the Lord bless you real good. Bye-bye.